y'all, and welcome to the Healthy by Heather Brown podcast, where I encourage you in healthy mind, body, and spirit through my Sunday reset. Let's get into it. Hey, Roll Gang. Today's episode is kind of insane, honestly. I cannot believe that we're here. And before we get into it, I'm wanting to tell you, first of all, that we are gifting one of you something super exciting that I've never done before. So I want you to make sure to stay tuned all the way to the end of this episode because I want to tell you exactly how to enter to win this big surprise. It's going to be so good. So first, I need to take you guys back to the beginning of the story, I guess, because honestly, holy smokes, I cannot believe that this is happening. It's kind of comical to me. I don't mean to laugh, but I just am like, how do we get here? The Lord, that's how we got here, honestly. But I've hinted at things behind the scenes for years. And some of you OG girls have literally prayed through this process with me. And now suddenly it's like, okay, wait, no. This is actually happening and it's real. So it's time to bring y'all into the fold. So I'm going to start right from the beginning. Like I said, I got an email over 6 years ago about an opportunity I had never considered. It was outside of my comfort zone, and it was mainly outside of my comfort zone because I love video and face-to-face and connecting with people. And this opportunity was not that. I felt just shocked kind of and flattered, but confused and wait, are you really reaching out to me about this? I had no clue what I was doing. And I just remember thinking over and over, God, are you sure this is what you want me to do? Because this feels overwhelming, like a whole freaking lot, and not something I feel qualified or strong enough in or confident enough to do, perhaps is the best way to put it. So while I didn't hear an actual audible yes from God, it was evident that he was just opening doors and I was walking through them to make it clear that this was something that I did need to pursue, in fact. But what followed after that email and open doors was years of waiting and so much confusion and just feeling like I was the Israelites wandering around the desert. It involved conversations and interviews and writing and hiring and firing and waiting and rebranding and starting over. And every time that I thought, this is the moment it's going to happen, another door shut. And I was just like, wait, what? Or the door got stalled, or it went radio silent out of nowhere after so many yeses. And honestly, I feel bad saying this, but I got frustrated with God. And I think that if you've ever been in that place, sometimes we can think that he can't take it or doesn't want to hear that, or why would we share that with him? But I was so frustrated. It just felt like I thought, okay, Lord, you're taking me on this exciting, new, unexpected journey. It's probably going to take a year or so. I don't know. I didn't know what to think in my brain. But I think that what was so frustrating about this was most of those 6 years of waiting were Finn's a baby and being born, and Leighton's life and having a toddler and a young baby and trying to squeeze really big meetings into the hours between 9 and 3 when my kids were either in preschool or naps. And it was just so much work that I was trying to get done in between those, preschool drop off and pick up. And you feel like you only have a few minutes by the time you work out and shower off and get ready to go back up to carpool. There was lots of travel to visit our family during this time amidst the heartache of my family going through losing my mother-in-law and her dementia, and then losing my sister-in-law to cancer. And there was just a lot of heartbreak and overwhelm in between. Those 6 years were really, really hard in a lot of ways, but also really, really good. It was truly a mixture of pain and beauty, like people always tell you when they're in the middle of something like that. I really did barely feel like I could keep my head above water in motherhood. And then, of course, you throw in a global pandemic during that. And it's just what? So I truly was exhausted. I was heartbroken. I was grieving the loss of my mother-in-law that I was so close to. I know you guys have heard me talk about her over the past episodes, and just trying to obey the Lord. What are you doing here, God? What is going on? But yet I kept constantly then hearing from him after this green light. Now it's time to pause. Now it's time to wait. Now it's a not yet. And I just was like, what? What now, Lord? So at my lowest points, I genuinely wondered, did I misunderstand God? Am I supposed to just quit? Was this actually never his plan for me in the first place? And I think that I was just really down on myself, and I felt like I was putting in all this work, but like spinning my wheels. It was really bizarre. And I guess I'm a little slow on the uptake, but I realized that the Lord needed me to learn that if it wasn't his timing, then it wasn't worth pursuing. And unfortunately, that took me about 6 years to arrive. But now I finally am like, Lord, if you are not there, I don't want to go. Like, that's just how he has taught me over these past 6 years. So as you can imagine, for an Enneagram 3, that was quite the journey. I am an Energizer bunny and an achiever, and I thrive on a fast pace and momentum and progress and wins. And this process really exposed me in that, and maybe that I put too much of my identity in it, unfortunately. And every time that someone in my small group would ask me, like, how's it going with this project? Or what's the update? I really felt like a failure, because I was like, I don't even know what's going on. Like, I don't even know how to answer this. And it's so embarrassing to be like, yeah, there's no update. Or like, I'm so lost in all the minutia of what has happened that I don't even know how to tell you to pray for me anymore. But now that I'm looking back at it, I think that God was stripping away my need to control the outcome. And I think that he really was giving me, just like he did with the Israelites, like a cloud by day and a fire by night. And when we read that story, we think about, like, where have you felt like in your life maybe that God has left you? I hope that this kind of helps you reflect on that. But it's so wild, because we feel like God's left us, but it's like, but he just provided for us too. And so many times I think when I heard those Bible stories about the Israelites wandering in the darkness and out, I was like, how are they doubting him again? Like, he has done so much for them. Why have they forgotten? But then here I was doing the exact same thing. So, like the Israelites, I got tunnel vision and I forgot his past faithfulness and his future promises, because I just wanted the instant gratification of, just like, unfortunately, most Americans do. And so I just think that it was such a realization of like, okay, Lord, we really are the same as the wandering Israelites. And we just forget his past faithfulness when we don't get instant gratification, like I said. So just like he provided a cloud and fire for the Israelites, funny enough, God provided for me hawks and hummingbirds to see that were symbols of him still in it with me through the season of waiting, and signs that I'm not alone and to keep going. Like, truly, I feel like those signs were almost like what kept me going sometimes. And it just felt so sweet and intentional that he would bring those to me. So I'll share a few of those interactions and instances that are like so wild, because it really was just like, okay, this is just such a God moment. So I kept seeing hawks before really important conversations in the most random places. Like, I pulled up to this random church in Bluff Park, Alabama to drop my kids off at VBS one summer, and there was just a hawk in the middle of this parking lot, which is like, when do you ever see a hawk on the ground? Like, never, unless it's injured. Like, it really was so crazy. And then I went to the Smoky Mountains to lead a women's retreat. We did a stretch and pray session. And as I was coming home, I got off the interstate just to go to the bathroom at a random stop. It wasn't planned. I literally just saw it and was like, I got to go pee. Great. I'm exiting here. And what is perched on the interstate sign pointing you left or right to the gas stations and the eateries? You know it already. A hawk. I was like, God, wow. Like, you really moved this weekend, and now I get to see this hawk as a reminder of your faithfulness again. And so then when I kept seeing them, the first time I ever saw one that got my attention, I was pulling into my neighborhood, and really low, like directly in front of my car, a hawk flew right in front of me, so close that I was afraid I was going to hit it. And it was just the most cool moment, because it was like the way the sunlight shone on his feathers. He just looked so majestic. Whereas I feel like before that, I'd never looked at a hawk and thought like, oh, how beautiful. You kind of think like, okay, they're normally way up high, because they have such great vision, and that's how they see their prey. But so the Lord literally sent that hawk directly in front of my car. And I was like, whoa, okay, sunlight on the wings, the whole nine. And so I was like, I got to look this up. So when I looked it up in the Bible and all the instances where it mentions like birds of prey and those kind of things, typically scholars view it as hawks being a symbol of discernment, having a higher perspective, like we talked about, because they're up so high with their really good eyes. And it really just made me felt seen. So I was like, okay, Lord. And then I kept having the phrase come to me that rejection is protection. So if you're walking through something where you've been rejected a lot right now, please hang on to that phrase, because it helped me out so much. And it's like, okay, Lord, I'm going to trust you in this. And then it was so neat because my story started to change towards looking like there was going to be hope in the end. Then he started sending me, instead of hawks, which I still see to this day, he started sending me though hummingbirds. And so that was just such a neat thing where it went from like a big, like kind of at times like, you know, ominous type thing with like a big old hawk and a predator to a hummingbird being like lighthearted and fun and playfulness. And the one that sticks out to me the most is I was about to get on a really big phone call to determine a lot of what I'm about to tell you. And I was sitting here in my office where I'm sitting right now recording this podcast episode. And to my right, I have this beautiful double window and it looks out into the trees in our backyard. And this hummingbird zipped right up to the window and paused for like 2 or 3 seconds. And keep in mind, I've been here for over a year at this point, and this has never happened before. And it just like zipped off just as fast. And I was like, whoa, Lord, was that even real? I was like, did I just imagine that in my head? I don't think that really happened. I kid you not. As I'm thinking this and like kind of laughing to the Lord, like there's no way that just happened. The hummingbird comes back to the same spot at the window and literally makes eye contact with me and then zips off again. And I just was like, what? Like the Lord just gave me so many little moments where he was showing me his faithfulness to keep going and to trust in him. And I just like, I was so in awe of God during all that. Okay, so one of those closed doors that I experienced in the 6-year journey was that I wasn't credentialed. Or like credentialed enough, I guess. And it's like, to who? All the people. I don't know. It's like, when are you ever quote unquote enough without the Lord? Let's keep that in mind also. But apparently Pure Bar teacher for 10 years and journalism mass communication major and mom who asked a lot of health questions wasn't quite enough. So that started conversations and research to figure out what type of certification I could get that aligned with my holistic and biblical view of mind, body, and spirit health. So through talking to mentors and naturopaths and trainers and dietitians and friends, one of my dear friends, Claire Davis, who is a licensed therapist, she and I were out for a walk just for fun. And she literally, like, it was like the Lord just like dropped this thought in my head while we were talking about business stuff. And I immediately was like, okay, this is what I need to like start looking into and researching and all these things. Because I kept coming up to roadblocks where people were like, you'd be so great at being a dietitian. But I was like, I'm not going to agree with from what Dr. John, that y'all have seen on the podcast, my naturopath and chiropractor, have taught me about nutrition through the standard American dietitian guidelines. Like it's just not going to line up with what he's taught me and shown me and what I had learned through, you know, being on the podcast and interviewing all these experts that believe in a more holistic realm of health. And then it was like, well, should I just become a personal trainer? And it was like, well, I already taught Pure Bar for 10 years and I work out at Burn Boot Camp at least 3 or 4 times a week. Like I kind of have a good baseline knowledge of that. So what's something that's really going to kind of stretch me and grow me more in the areas that I want to go? And so that's when I figured out that Jordan Rubin, who I've had on the podcast before, I'll link back to his episode, had a certified health coach institute and that I could get certified as a Christian health coach, which I was like, what? Mind blowing. So then when I was on a phone call with one of the women that represents the Christian health coaching agency, she used the verse that God had brought up in my life so much ever since the pandemic in 2020. She said, Esther 4:14, Heather, perhaps you were created for such a time as this. And it was like, okay, again, like I just started crying as she was like praying for me and read me that verse because it just was like God was just connecting all these dots that I couldn't see before. And I just felt like now I've learned so much through that course and through continuing the podcast and asking more questions that it's just been like the Lord is looking back has made it so evident how he was working through all these things all along. And I don't know if y'all remember the story about the Israelites where they placed 12 large stones at, I think it's Gilgal, after crossing the Jordan River to serve as a lasting memorial of God's faithfulness, power, and his miraculous intervention. So I kind of view telling you guys this background as a little bit of like me setting up those stones to remember what all he has done for me and to be able to refer back to this episode for me and for my boys and just like, I mean, I could just cry thinking about how faithful the Lord has been through so much. And I'm so, so grateful. So, whoo, I'm like, Heather, I need to rein it in. So it truly was a pruning season. And I think that looking back, God was stripping me of old ideas, of my old branding, because I used to be My Life Well Loved. I changed to Healthy by Heather Brown, my old direction, and then also my old striving ways. Don't get me wrong, I still have that sin struggle, but he's been teaching me so much about rest and Sabbath and laying things down and regulating my nervous system. And so during all this time, as you guys know, I did rebrand. I launched this podcast 4 years ago now, which is wild to think that it's been that long now. And then I also honed in on the Sunday reset message and just clarified what mind, body, and spirit meant. And the Lord just taught me so much that I would not have understood had he not have taken me on this journey. And so somewhere in the middle of all that waiting, the message just became really clear. Like it crystallized. He, truly just revealed what was next in my calling. So now I have brought you guys up to speed on the very Cliff Notes version of the last 6 years, what God has done in my family, in my business, on the podcast, in my mission and passion, and my heart, and what he's done in this long process. And I can finally tell you, I'm like, drum roll, please. I get to write a book, y'all. Like, what? I'm so excited. It's going to be called, can you guess it? The Sunday Reset. So exciting. So you guys might wonder, okay, Heather, you've been creating content online for over a decade now. Like, why a book? Like, why are we doing this now? Like, what's the thought process? So I think that we talk on here a lot about how Instagram and social media are very fast paced, and we have podcasts that are like, I love the podcast. If y'all don't know this already, it's one of my favorite ways to show up and chat with you guys, because I feel like I learn so much doing it. And I personally just get to connect with people that I get to ask all the questions that we all, as busy mamas that want to, instill generational health into our kids, are wondering. And so I feel like I love this podcast and I love Instagram stories, but there's only so much you can get across within those like shorter time frames. And so a book will let me build an actual framework that you guys can return to over and over and over again, as like, let me take your hand and just show you how to do this framework. Like, I hope that you feel a sense of relief. Like, okay, I can just open up the Sunday Reset and Heather's going to tell me what to do. And that is what I'm like, I need it. Like, I love that it's forcing me to write it down so I can have it to reference back to versus kind of like tabulating through my brain. I'm like, what are we doing on the meal plan? What did I say I wanted to do with friends? Get out the calendar. Like, it's just going to be a really, really neat way to catalog it all for you guys. And some things just can't fully be taught in a 60-second reel. So I know that y'all don't need just inspiration. It's like, we need a roadmap that we can return to every week to help us make sure that we are being intentionally healthy in mind, body, and spirit for our family, with our family, for the Lord, to honor him and like embody this faith that we're wanting to live out, and just to be the best for our kids, for our husband, for our family, for our church family, for our community, for our friends, all the things. So now it's kind of like, oh my gosh, wait, this is actually going to be happening really fast, because I want this book in your hands in January of 2027, which you're like, okay, that's very specific. Why January? So I even like talked with my publishers and I was like, I want it to be January, because January is when so many of us hit the reset button. It's like, okay, we got through Christmas. We're getting ready to end Christmas break with our kids. We're sending them back to school. How do we do normal real life again before like spring sports and all the things start picking up? So I know that we don't need another January crash diet. We don't need another start over on Monday mindset and a 30-day challenge that leads to nowhere, and an impossible routine and an all or nothing plan. So I want January to be a time to set, new goals that are realistic and sustainable, and that you have that Sunday reset to catch you so that you don't fall off the bandwagon like just with every other time that you've done, your New Year's resolutions. They have literally a National Quitters Day that's in the month of January because so many people quit it. So what you need is a solution that works 52 weeks out of the year and then every year of your life to help you stop surviving and start living in alignment with God's design for you and your family. So this is going to be new goals that you can implement and be on the same page weekly with your family about. It's a good touch point, essentially. And again, y'all hear me say this all the time, but just because I'm saying the Sunday reset doesn't mean you have to do it on a Sunday. You could choose a Monday or a Friday or whatever makes sense for you and your family. But goals like, what are your physical goals? What are your goals with reading your Bible? Do you want to do less screen time? How do you want to implement that to help you stop just surviving and to start living, like I said, in alignment with how God created you and your body and your mind and your spirit to all work together? So who is this for? You might be asking. Girl, I wrote it for you, boo. So this is for those of you like me that can be at times exhausted moms, stressed moms, my mama's stuck in survival mode, high capacity women, which definitely also can struggle with that myself as well, as I just shared, and women craving more peace and structure and intentionality, just giving you that space to breathe. Honestly, that's what this is about. And then the women who are mentally overloaded and just physically depleted. You want the energy to keep up with your kids and your grandkids one day, but you don't know how, and you're just buried and you're drowning. So the book is going to teach you so much, but I would say that y'all have heard me talk about the Sunday reset and you've seen me do parts of it each week on my Instagram stories, but y'all always ask me, well, what is it exactly? And how do you do it? And how long does it take you? And is it just some self-care? So this book will teach you how to Sunday reset. And I obviously can't tell you all the things right now because I have to write it in a book and that's going to take me a while, but you will walk away with the exact 6 steps that I follow week after week that help realign me and Eric and our family to be living an intentional life and to have the time and space in the calendar blocked out to revisit where we want to be going as a family with season changes or different things that come up. So I think that one thing that I really struggled with when I was first starting to ask all these questions was that when you start asking questions about your mind, body, and spirit and how they're all interconnected, there really wasn't a lot coming from some of the Christian thought leaders. And so I guess I just ask you, like, when was the last time that you heard a sermon on what it looks like to steward your body well so that you can serve the people you love the most and walk out your calling best? And I know I haven't heard a sermon around that, maybe ever. And I think that the church and Christian thought leaders have done such a good job of discipling women spiritually in so many ways. And I'm so grateful for that. But many women are still physically exhausted. They're mentally overwhelmed. And day to day, they don't look that much different than people that are not in the church and don't love the Lord. They're emotionally reactive and completely disconnected from how God designed the body to function. And we also talk a lot about prayer and quiet time, but not a lot about sleep deprivation and chronic stress, ultra-processed food, nervous system dysregulation, emotional burnout, and the fact that women are just completely running on fumes. And when you're running on fumes, I'm going to cry because it breaks my heart so much. Like, you don't have the depth of feeling like you're enough in Christ, sister. Like, He is going to provide for you in every single way, and He will meet you where you are. And when you run out, like, He is so gracious to pick you up and carry you. But He also has given us tools and things in nature that He built into our body to help us reset. And I want to help all of us know what those are. I think that many women and moms, even in this community, genuinely believe that feeling horrible is normal. And that's just like a part of your life and motherhood now. And I completely reject that. Like, here I am, I'm 40 and I actually have some of the best energy and feel the best I've ever felt in my life. So if you're 30, 35, 45, 50, you don't have to feel miserable. Let me just encourage you that you do not. So I think that Christian health coach certification helped me realize how much science backs what God has been telling us in scripture about how we feed our bodies, how we move, how we live our lives. But it's easier than ever for modern families to just drift from how God designed us to live, not on purpose. It's just that culture tends to, peel us that way. And unfortunately, where believers aren't willing to speak into your health and your mind and your body and your spirit and how to care for you and steward your body and love your people well, Satan and the world are more than happy to step in and tell you what to do, how you should be eating, what that should look like, and to suck away your time. Like, it's slow deception. That's one of Satan's best tools, is he takes something that God created and he twists it just enough where it confuses you and leaves you feeling like you're doing the right things, but they're not working. And so I just want to encourage you that you, again, don't have to live disconnected from how God designed your body to work. So I think that, where we tend to get stuck, that are some of the basics, is instead of sunshine, we live under fluorescent lights most of the day. And instead of reading God's word, we scroll screens way too much. Instead of real food, we eat products loaded with sugars and chemicals that you can't even pronounce, that God did not design to go into your body. Instead of moving, we are sedentary most days. And I think the average American gets something like 4,000 steps. And that's just not how God designed the human body to go. In fact, some research shows that when you look at Jesus and where he traveled in between cities back in the day, he and his disciples would have averaged around 20,000 steps a day. So that's just so far removed from what we do now as a culture. And I think that is probably really hurting us, not just in our physical health, but in our mental health too. So unfortunately, we've forgotten how to listen to our bodies, how to recognize our emotions, and respond with wisdom. And Jesus tells us in Mark 12:30 to love the Lord our God with all our heart and with all our soul and with all our mind and with all our strength. And then the next verse is, and to love your neighbor as yourself. So that verse is what I kind of like come back to. At the end of the day, like, that's what this entire Sunday Reset framework is built around. And it reshaped how I think about health, not as something separate, but as something connected in mind, body, and spirit. So my hope and prayer is that the Lord gives me the words to write it specifically to you, and that it is such a blessing, and that you don't hear my words, but that you hear God's words. In fact, one of the pastors that I listen to a lot here in Birmingham, he says, may the words of my mouth fall to the ground and blow away, but may your word remain and may it change us. And that is my prayer, that the Lord would work through this book in that way. So holy smokes, buckle up, y'all. I just want you guys to come along with me in the full journey. We're going to do behind the scenes. I'll be showing you guys what it's like writing and editing and helping me pick the cover, and what is the launch going to look like, and all the emotional moments I'm sure that I will have. As you've heard throughout this episode, I'm like getting choked up already, but it's just so exciting to think about having something permanent that we have together as a community, and that you can like give to your friends, and we can be even more like aligned in what we're doing all together. Each Sunday Reset that we do week after week, my mind is just like blown, and I'm so thankful for the opportunity. And I just really want you guys to feel that sense of relief and energetic and like the momentum of moving forward and how God has called us to live. Ultimately, I want you to feel joy in what you're doing, again, no matter what season of life you're in. So y'all, bless my heart. I'm sure I'm going to be taking you behind the scenes of some of my first time author chaos, because that is for sure to ensue. And I just want to let you know that I'm going to need a lot of help in the process. I'm going to need a launch team. I'm going to want to have like a Zoom or an Instagram Live where I can just pick your brain on what all you want to hear, see, do, feel, all the things from this book. And then I might need to read some of your feedback in the editing process. So I just want it to be our book. It's not my book. It's our book. It is for you and us together. And I'm just so excited about doing this alongside other Christian women and just redefining what we as a Christian group of women think about when we think of health. I don't want you to think about diets. I don't want you to think about like GLP-1s. I don't want you to be thinking about all the crazy wackadoo trends that come and go, but truly to go back to like, how did God design us to live? What did he tell us in scripture? So this timeline is going to be wild. Honestly, I would say that most authors usually have longer than what I have, but together we're going to do it, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. Let it be, Lord. And everyone that I talk to keeps telling me that's crazy. Like it just like God just written it all over the story. And I know he's going to be through it with me, but I would so appreciate your prayers as we get ready for this next phase. And apparently we're doing this. So I'm like, everybody get on the bus. Here we go. Or on my Hot Mess Express train. And we're going to, just, all the things. It's all the things. That's like the best way to summarize it. So, woo, let's go. Okay, friend, if you listen to the end, first of all, thank you. I know I get a little bit long-winded sometimes when I'm excited about something, but as promised, I have a really fun surprise for you. I am giving away a Sunday Reset starter kit to one lucky winner, and you're definitely going to want to hear what's inside of it. First of all, that will include reimbursement for your pre-order of the Sunday Reset. Number 2 will be a $300 Amazon shopping spree where you can choose some of my favorite healthy tools for resetting your mind, body, and spirit. Think like my red light or a weighted vest or walking pad, less toxic air fryer, kitchen essentials. You name it, it's your choice. And I'm also including my favorite Make Wellness hydrated packets because y'all know I'm obsessed, LOL. So here's how to enter. Step 1, you can go right now to healthybyheatherbrown.com/reset. That will also be linked in the show notes, and pre-order your copy of the Sunday Reset. Step number 2, then complete the pre-order form on that page to show proof of purchase. That's it. That's all you have to do. And then you're entered to win all those goodies valued at close to $400. So exciting. And honestly, while I'm so excited about the giveaway, what I'm even more excited about is that you're going to get immediately when you do pre-order, because I don't want women to have to wait until January 2027 to start resetting their lives. One of the things I'm most excited about is that when you pre-order, you're going to get immediate access to what I call the Sunday Reset Starter System. It's the exact framework I've used for years to help busy moms get out of survival mode, specifically when it comes to meal planning. You'll get a 75-page digital workbook packed with meal planning templates, grocery lists, healthy pantry checklists, protein guides, weekly planning worksheets, habit building tools, and over a month's worth of recipes. Whoop, whoop. So meal planning done for you, basically. And then I'm also including a training video where I literally walk you through my exact meal planning process step by step. It is essentially me literally sitting across the kitchen table from you saying, okay, girl, let me show you exactly how I do this. So easy, so simple, breaking it down in really layman's term. It really was a ton of fun to record that, honestly. So if you're excited about the Sunday Reset book and want to be part of the journey with me, head to healthybyheatherbrown.com/reset. Again, it's healthybyheatherbrown.com/reset. Pre-order your copy and email us your receipt at mylifewellloved@gmail.com or info@healthybyheatherbrown.com with your receipt to claim your bonuses and enter the giveaway. Thank you so much for being here. Truly such an honor to have you be part of the Girl Gang. Thank you for praying for me. Thank you for cheering me on through all the pivots and rebrands and random health rabbit holes over the years. You guys genuinely helped me build this community brick by brick from the ground up over all these many years. And I truly cannot wait to put the Sunday Reset in your hands. So with all that said, please go share the word. I'm so excited, but it's going to be a major flop without your support. So thank you so much in advance. Like, truly thank you from the bottom of my heart. You guys are incredible. God bless. Have an awesome day. And I'll see you back here soon. Okay, friend, that's a wrap on this week's episode. If you're not already following me on Instagram, make sure to screenshot this episode, share it to your stories, and tag @HealthyByHeatherBrown so I can connect with you in my DMs. It truly brings me so much joy to see how these episodes impact you and your family. Make sure to subscribe so we can see you back here next Tuesday for our weekly show. And friend, if this podcast has encouraged you, challenged you, or helped you in any way, your downloads, ratings, and reviews are truly the lifeblood of this podcast. They help us reach more women who need hope, practical tools, and reminders that they don't have to stay stuck in survival mode and that there's hope in Jesus. And I love bringing that to light here on the show week after week. So please hit the download button on this episode and leave a 5-star rating if you've loved it. And if we're really BFFs, you'll spread the happy and text this podcast link to someone who needs to hear it today. While you're scrolling the show notes, you'll find links to everything we talked about in today's episode, freebies to fuel your health goals, related podcast episodes, and information about my brand new book, The Sunday Reset. The Sunday Reset is the exact framework I've used for years to help busy women reset their minds, bodies, and spirits each week so they can stop surviving and start living in alignment with God's design. You'll also find my Amazon storefront with healthy snacks, my favorite Look for Less workout outfits, books, and devotionals I love, and all of my favorite healthy living finds. Have a great day, Girl Gang, and I'll see you next week.